Welcome to the Marketing Spotlight, where we share the career journeys of Michigan State University marketing alumni. I'm your host, Katie Sadler, and today with us we have Brendan Prost. Brendan graduated from MSU in 2013 with a double major in marketing and economics. Brendan, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Marketing Spotlight.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Katie. So very excited to be here today. I just want to say quickly as a disclaimer that the opinions expressed are solely my own and don't necessarily express the views or opinions of my employer.
We're really excited to talk to you today. We're going to start with some rapid fire questions to get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
I hope so. Let's give it a shot.
You're going to do great. First of all, describe yourself in 3 words.
That's tough. I'd say reliable, analytical, and empathetic.
Great. What was your first job after graduating?
I was a marketing analyst for Bosch's automotive electronics division.
And what is your current job title?
I'm now a senior account manager at the Bosch automotive aftermarket division.
Okay. What's your favorite brand to follow?
Probably Nike.
Okay. And what is your favorite book?
I'm really into behavioral economics. So I like a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Richard Kahneman. It's really good.
Great book. What dorm were you in as a freshman?
I was over in Brody in the Emmons dorm.
Was that before or after the Great Calf?
It was the in construction period.
Got it.
Yeah.
What clubs were you involved in at MSU?
I was actually a member of the MSU International Business Organization and eventually became the president.
Very cool. What was your favorite place to study on campus?
I basically lived at the main library because I was juggling 3 jobs when I was going to school, and occasionally the business library as well.
Great. And if you had to choose one, would you choose the ISON or the Deep End?
Tough call, but I'd say the ISON.
Okay. Well, you passed rapid fire. Thanks for participating. In order to really dive in today, we want to first start out with why you decided to major in marketing and understand what influenced that decision.
Sure. So going into college, I think it's difficult for many people to decide on a major because you feel like there's a need to find the perfect role or the perfect career path. And so I was struggling with that decision and took advantage of support offered at the Student Services Center. They had a program where you could meet with counselors that would help you better understand yourself and what you would be happy doing. And I found that there's not necessarily one perfect career path for you, and that you could be happy doing multiple different things with your life. So I took a step back and focused on my interests and found that marketing would be a good fit because it combined some of my interest in analytical topics with my passion for art and creativity. And I've been happy ever since.
Great. And after you graduated from MSU, you started an established career at Bosch. Can you tell us about your career path there?
Sure. So going out of MSU, I was fortunate enough to participate in a rotational program at Bosch, which involved 3 domestic rotations and 1 international rotation, each lasting 6 months. It was a great opportunity to get exposure to different aspects of marketing. So during my time there, I was a marketing analyst. I was a brand manager. I got involved in marketing research. I got involved in process development and improvement. And it was a great way to get my feet wet and get a better understanding of what I enjoyed in the marketing field. And ultimately, after that program, I found a role in Chicago with Bosch's automotive aftermarket team, which focuses on supporting vehicles after they are released to the public. If you need vehicles serviced, our organization would be the largest supplier in North America for automotive parts for service. So I was there for quite some time working as a project manager, and now I'm in direct sales working with Ford Motor Company.
Awesome. So you went through this rotational program where you had 3 rotations here in the US, 1 abroad. Can you tell us about how those quick rotations influenced your career path and kind of what they taught you about the business?
Sure, certainly. So one of the main principles that Bosch likes to enforce is the idea of a continuous improvement mindset, both in terms of the associates themselves and the business. So I took that to heart coming into Bosch and wanted to learn from each of the experiences and continuously improve my competency and skills in each rotation, and also make sure that when I'm joining a rotation, I was improving their processes and adding value while I was there. I'd say that the various opportunities within Bosch allowed me to get my hands dirty with a little bit of the brand element or creative element marketing that I was associated marketing with a capital M with, but also get involved in the analytical side with marketing research and diving into numbers. And at the end of the day, I found that I was very interested in the analytical side of things, and that's where I've trended ever since.
So you kind of started in one of those market research roles as one of your rotations. What did market research teach you about business?
Sure. So in the marketing research role at Bosch, I was tasked with getting a better understanding of specifically parking sensors, which was an interesting topic, diving into the wide array of smart technologies that currently exist for parking garages and for municipalities as they're looking to increase their parking revenue, yes, but also just improve how traffic moves throughout their cities. So it was a very interesting thing to deep dive. But what I learned was that when you're first entering an organization, you may not necessarily be the decision maker that's pulling the trigger on $1 million decisions. You can often be collecting useful intel that will inform those decisions. So after the research I did was complete, it led to a business acquisition eventually for Bosch in parking sensors. So that was a great result to see.
That's really cool. It sounds like a really
Mhm.
interesting role in which you are probably able to work with engineering a lot, it sounds like, and kind of learning how that technology works. Did you have a chance to work with those different cross-functional teams?
So one thing you'll learn quickly if you come to work at Bosch is that half of the people walking around are engineers, whether their job is in engineering or not. It's a very engineering-focused company, a very German company that I've really enjoyed working for. So yes, in the various roles that I've had, I don't come from an engineering background, but whether it's directly working with an engineering or quality team or just working with the person next to you, there's often someone with a technical mindset that can give you insight into the questions that you're asking. So when faced with these large solutions like connectivity, electrification, let's say the larger mobility, it's useful to have the technical understanding as well as, let's say, the higher concepts that I'm getting exposed to with my secondary and primary research.
That's really interesting. So one other thing that I'd love to understand a little bit more on is your international rotation. And I know that you studied abroad while you were an undergrad. So what did you learn from your international rotation, and how was that different from your study abroad experience while you were at MSU?
Sure. So at MSU, I did have the opportunity to participate in this study abroads, as you mentioned. So I did one on sustainability in Australia, which was fantastic. And then I did one in Europe, following the path of the Allied soldiers in World War II. So two completely different experiences, but they were great and really gave me the travel bug. And I've traveled a lot since then, and really jumped at the opportunity with Bosch to have an international rotation. When it came time to choose an international rotation, it was a combination of business need and also personal interest. I had a strong interest in going to Germany, the origin of the company, and also the position that I selected was involving Ford. So while I was there, I was on the Ford sales team for Bosch. So it was great getting exposure to Cologne, Germany. I had some fantastic colleagues I worked with there, and I supported processes related to relocation of sub-suppliers, changing materials for a large array of products, and it was fantastic.
What was the hardest part about being on an international rotation?
The hardest part was getting an opportunity to speak German. I tried to speak German when I was there, and everyone wanted to practice their English. But kidding aside, I'd say that the most challenging thing would probably be just being disconnected from your normal network. So you're out of a comfort zone of having your family and friends nearby, and you need to really take that step to make connections locally and try to, your best to learn the local language and embrace the local culture. Eat some foods you've never tried before and spark up a conversation with a stranger. And it was a great experience.
What was one thing that you didn't expect to learn while you're abroad that you did?
I was surprised to learn that the challenges that I was facing in the United States with a variety of processes we were involved with were just just as prevalent in Germany. And if we could solve some of the problems we were facing in one region and share the best practice with the other region, then we could really have a compounding effect of the solutions that we had found regionally. So one of the things that I've been involved with since is best practice sharing and trying to do my best to find best practices in other regions and take them to my own. Because there's often things you can learn from, even if it's not the same type of role or the same type of challenges that are occurring, looking at best practices from different situations, different regions can often help you crack the puzzle that you're struggling with. So that was something I learned.
That makes a lot of sense. Uh, Pivoting a little bit, can you tell us about your current role that you're in at Bosch and what are some of your core responsibilities?
Sure. So my current role is a senior account manager with the Ford account at Bosch Automotive Aftermarket. So what we do is we support the service of vehicles for up to 15 years after they're produced. So anytime you would go to, let's say, a Ford dealership to replace a part, chances are that you're likely going to get a Bosch replacement part, as we are the largest automotive supplier in the world. But right now, I'm essentially managing a portfolio of approximately 2,000 or so parts, monitoring the profitability of those parts, making sure they are high quality, working with engineering teams to implement changes to improve the robustness and quality of the products, and generally managing the relationship between Bosch and Ford. So acting as an advocate for Ford within Bosch, and then advocating for Bosch to Ford.
And what are some of the key skills that you need to do your job?
I'd say that currently there's a lot of tasks to manage. So it's important to have time management skills, be able to multitask, communicate effectively, and have empathy both for your customer as well as for colleagues internally with the challenges that they're facing.
And Brendan, what would you say is the most challenging part of your current role?
The most challenging part is probably leading without direct authority. So oftentimes we're tasked with managing large projects involving multiple divisions and functions where the colleagues you need input from do not directly report to you, but you need their collaboration and cooperation and fostering relationships both internally and externally and developing a strong enough rapport to get the feedback you need to adequately perform your tasks can be a challenge, but one that I embrace.
I think the idea of building followership is so interesting because in so many roles that people have throughout their careers, a lot of it is exactly what you're saying, building relationships with people who don't directly report into you and trying to get buy-in to do projects that you're working on and improve the process. Would you say that there's any key ways that you build followership in your job today?
I'd say being reliable is key. So if let's say the river flows both ways. So if you are there for others when they need support, they'll be there for you. And if you're able to build the brand on hard work and again, the keyword empathy, folks will have empathy for you as well and support your vision and your topics.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, Brendan, would you say that there is any one piece of advice you wish you had had when you were a freshman at MSU looking back?
I would definitely encourage freshmen to look at international study, study abroad opportunities, and to focus on time management. Make sure you're getting those 8 hours of sleep per day, setting aside time for your health as well as your career development and education. I'm a bit of a nerd about it, and I'll schedule literally every 30 minutes of my day with an activity, whether it's for fun or for business or anything. So time management is key, and you'd really be surprised how small improvements add up over time. So I'd say time management is key.
And then is there any advice that you'd give yourself as a senior? Because I feel like the advice you need as a freshman is probably very different that you would need as a senior. So what would you tell your senior self?
I'd say don't be afraid to say yes and embrace challenges, even if you're not sure if you can meet them. Really, the way that you grow is by stepping outside of your comfort zone and saying, yes, I can do this. And if you work hard and aren't afraid to ask questions, those around you will recognize it. And sooner or later, you'll find that you're filling those shoes that you're looking for.
I love that. I think the idea of stepping out of your comfort zone in an effort to learn and grow is so important because as students, a lot of times I think we're afraid of failure because we're so used to the school system in which there's pass and fail and specific grades. But I think a lot of times in adult life, you almost learn more from failure than you do from your successes because the lessons that you take away are so much stronger and more prevalent in your mind. So I think that that's a really great point that you bring up. Brendan, is there anything else that you wish to share with our students?
Don't Benchmarking is important, but the most important benchmarking to do is to compare yourself today to yourself yesterday, and just focus on self improvement. And benchmarking externally is useful, but if you're continuously improving yourself, it'll get you where you're looking to go.
Brendan, thank you so much for joining us today. For listeners who are interested in connecting with Brendan, you can find him on LinkedIn. Make sure you also check out other episodes of the Marketing Spotlight. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and almost anywhere else you listen to podcasts. We'll see you next time.